Welcome, listeners, to the Lost for Life podcast, where you'll be joining a girl on her journey to discovering the depths of emotional intelligence. This is your host, Tennessee Reed. Welcome back, everyone. It's so great to have you on another week of this podcast and listening and learning. It's so fun to make these. My husband, Jake, is co-hosting this again with me, my favorite type of episodes. He has done them in the past, and we just have so much fun doing them. So the last couple months, we have been training together for an ultra marathon. We really wanted to do one this spring or summer, so we've been training really, really hard to do that. And part of our training, we decided to do a actual marathon race this last weekend as part of our training. So we kind of just wanted to recap on that because it was quite an adventure. Jake, what was like the hardest part of the whole race? Honestly, let's hear the recap.
Well, this race was nuts. And like Tennessee said, we weren't even planning really on doing this till like a couple weeks before. It was just fit in perfectly. One of our friends was doing it, and we said, oh, this fits in perfectly with our training schedule, a 26-mile run. Yeah, I'll just sign up and do it at the marathon. And so it wasn't really on our radar till a little before. Then kind of got excited about it. But no, this race, this was difficult. And for me, the difficultness started about 3 weeks before. We just finished a 47-mile week with a 21-mile run on Saturday. And then that same Saturday, it was the day Carolina beat Duke. Go Heels. And so I had to walk maybe like 6 or 7 miles I spent walking that day, like to and from the basketball game, around everywhere. And I'm pretty sure I got a stress fracture in my left navicular bone in my foot. It's just a weird bone in your foot that doesn't really get a lot of blood supply, so it takes forever to heal. And so then that Monday I tried to run again, just like a little cool down run after the 21 miler on Saturday. And I made it like a quarter mile. I'm like, my foot really hurts. And so I stopped, tried again a couple days later, hurt. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to want to run this marathon, I can't run, like I need a rest. So I didn't run for 3 weeks before the marathon, which really set me back a lot. I think my body was not conditioned for it. But anyways, I'm just praying that my foot is going to like be okay during this race. And so literally no joke, a quarter mile into the marathon, the pain in the foot came back. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a long race. And so I thought like, okay, we got our ultra marathon signed up in 4 weeks is when we're scheduled to run it. Even if I just stop right now and leave the race, there's no way my foot would be better in time for the ultra marathon. And so I'm like, I'm just going to give it everything I have. Like I'm going to be out anyways. Might as well go out with a bang. And so, yeah, I felt every step of that marathon. But so then like my foot hurt so bad every time it came in contact with the ground. I had to like adjust the way it like struck the ground. Kind of had to change my gait a little, and that really screwed up my knees. So then like my knees were aching, and like at mile 6, like I couldn't even bend my right knee more than like 10 degrees. So my whole stride was way thrown off. I had to rely solely on my hip flexors to be able to like run. Like I wasn't bending my knees. My foot was messed up. And so then at like mile 14, it felt like 2 bombs went off in both my hip flexors. Like my legs were absolutely destroyed. I'm telling you, I felt every step of that marathon. But somehow like I told myself, I'm like, I'm finishing this. Like I'm doing good. My goal ahead of time was like under 4 hours. But I was hanging with the 350 pacer group, and I was feeling really good. My legs weren't feeling good, but like energy wise, I was feeling really good. It just hurt every single step. And so like I was like waiting even till if I'm still feeling really good at mile 21, I'm going to try to make a move and catch the 340 pacer. Cause I felt like I had a lot of juice in the tank still. But then it was like mile 20. That was a rough part. It just felt like my whole legs my knees were just wrecked. And so I just had to walk for like half a mile at that point, which I was super bummed about because I was making a really good time. And then I asked like one of the cheerleaders on the side of the road, anyone got any ibuprofen? Because my knees hurt so bad. And they said no. And then like 10 seconds later, this girl comes sprinting up to me like, were you just breathing so hard? Like, were you the one that asked for the ibuprofen? And like just gave me some. And so then I took that, and then it started kicking in. So at mile 23, I was able to then just go and finish it out and finish strong. I got my goal of sub 4, which I was happy about. But yeah, that whole thing, it was a mental battle. Like, it hurt. Like, I wanted to stop at a quarter mile in. Like, my foot hurt so bad, and just the whole thing, just every step ached. But it was a good time looking back.
It's always better to look back at it and be like, oh yeah, that was kind of fun. In the moment, you're like, this is literally hell.
Even
like,
looking back, I still don't know if it was fun. I don't know, but it was like, I'm glad I did it.
Clearly, we're laughing about it. No, the whole race, I knew that Jake's foot was not doing well. Like, and I was just thinking about it the whole time. And I knew Jake wasn't going to quit. Like, I knew you weren't going to quit. So I just felt bad that you were hurting so much because I knew you weren't going to stop. And even with a broken foot, you were still going to finish that race.
It was literally in the hurt locker for 4 hours, just getting chewed up and spit right back out by Wilmington, North Carolina.
But, like, wasn't it cool, though, like, how many spectators there were? Like, I always tell Jake, like, I don't need a cheerleader to tell me I can achieve my dreams or not. But, like, honestly, that marathon taught me that it sure is nice to have some cheerleaders. When you're, like, hurting and you're like, this freaking sucks. I have 6 more miles of this. Are you kidding? Like, the cheerleaders are pretty nice.
Yeah, they showed up. They gave me ibuprofen. But, no, it was cool. The city Wilmington, they showed up for that race. It was sweet. There were so many people, like, cheering you on. It was incredible. Like, I think the longest stretch where there was nobody cheering was maybe 3 minutes. Maybe.
Yeah.
And when I say, like, people cheering, like, I'm not talking about, like, one person on the side of the road going, you got it. I'm talking about, like, crowds of, like, 30 to 60 people with cowbells, like, horn signs, the whole thing.
Like frat houses, like boys and girls clubs.
There were buses of people dropped off on the side of the road to cheer for us. Like, it was insane. Like, the city showed up. It was incredible.
Like, I could honestly, like, I was trying so hard to stay focused because I didn't want to waste any energy, like, mental energy. But, like, I could not help but smile at points when, like, everyone was losing their mind. And I was like, that is so sweet. Like, that makes me want to go to races and just cheer for people because I have been there. I've been hurting because, like, this is Jake's and I both first official race marathon. I've ran a couple training marathons, but not race. So, like, we were pretty nervous. So to have the spectators there was really, really fun. And it, like, created such a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, I've never done an official marathon. I've done, like, some official halves before. No one really on the side of the road, like a few people down at the finish line. But this, like, I'm telling you, it was insane, the amount of, like, support and cheering you on the entire way.
So, like, a lesson that I wanted to, like, apply to my life from this that I was thinking about while running was, let's, like, cheer each other on. Like, yeah, we can be our own cheerleaders. We don't need people to tell us if we can achieve our dreams or not. But, like, also, let's find our people and let's, like, encourage each other and praise each other for the accomplishments that we do. Like, keep each other accountable and continue to cheer for each other because it really does help. Yeah, we don't need it, but it sure does feel good and it sure does help.
Yeah, I agree. And I, like, what I thought too was cool, like, because I said I walked like half a mile or 3/4 of a mile or some. When I passed people, they didn't, like, make fun of me. They didn't, like, say, oh, you're weak, stay down, or what. Like, that doesn't help anybody out. Or, like, they didn't get mad at me for staying down. Where they said, oh, you got it. Like, you can do it. Push through. Like, you can keep going. Like, you got it. Like, they didn't even tell me to, like, start running. They were even just saying, like, keep going, man. Like, you got it. And then they gave me ibuprofen. They helped me out. Like, but they were, even, like, when I was at my lowest, I was still getting encouraged. There was no discouragement going on. So, like, I agree with what you said. Like, even when we see people struggling, there's no point in, like, trying to make them feel worse or discourage them, or even, like, why aren't you running at Tennessee's pace? Or, like, why aren't you start running it, like, faster, run faster? There was no run faster. It was just keep going. Don't give up was the encouragement. And I really like that.
something that I also thought was cool in the race was about mile 18, like actually mile 16, I started to feel it. Like I was in the hurt locker at that point, and it was an out and back. So you're passing runners like going opposite directions. And at that point, I actually like started kind of like giving people thumbs up that were passing me, kind of clapping like, you got this. Or if I ever passed a runner that like I knew was struggling, I was like, you got this, keep going. And I genuinely think that helped me run faster, like encouraging others and bringing others with you, kind of being that leader in a way. That encouragement only helps you. Yeah, it probably took some energy from me, but I think it gave me energy. By serving others, I gained the energy to continue to push myself farther. And that's something I also like want to continue to apply in my life, was when you bring others with you, it gives you energy and you actually perform better because you have something to work for, something bigger than yourself. A goal that's bigger than yourself always is going to make you more successful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you hear multiple times, like, if you're down or if you're struggling, the best way to fix yourself inwardly is to turn outwardly and help others. So, yeah, I agree 100%.
So Jake kind of shared his resilience story about the marathon. So I guess it's time for me to share mine. You guys, this was both of our first marathon races. And, like, I was so nervous the night before. I don't know if Jake was or not. Were you?
I wasn't nervous because I knew like it's just gonna happen. Like I wasn't like, I knew like my goal sub-4, like that's reasonable. I should be able to do it.
I think I was more nervous because I was like, I have trained a marathon like in my training runs. I'm like, I knew what this was gonna entail. Like I knew I was gonna be in the hurt locker, so I was just kind of like, oh, this is gonna suck so bad.
I think I also, not having ran for 3 weeks before, True. I forgot how bad it hurts.
The mental capacity of just continuing. So I was really nervous the night before, but I actually slept pretty well. I think I was so nervous. I was just like, what the heck? Like, I don't even care anymore. I just am going to eliminate all expectations for myself. Like, and then I actually slept pretty good. So I was happy that I was able to work through that in my mind, like kind of get over myself and be like, it is what it is. I'm running my own race. Like, it literally doesn't matter, like, what other people think. Like, I'm just going to run my very best. It's me against me. Like, and that's what's so cool about a marathon. Anyway, so I slept pretty good. We woke up. It was utterly freezing at the finish line, or the start line. Like, it was literally in the 30 degrees.
Beautiful sunrise, though.
We cannot skip the sunrise. It was gorgeous. But it was freezing at 6:30 in the morning. And it was Jake and I both racing, so we couldn't, like, drop off our coat with, like, a spectator. Like, we were just in our racing gear, like, just sitting there waiting to start. And it was so cold. So you're nervous, you're cold. I'm like, this is so miserable. I even took a video of myself, like, right before the race. And I just did not look happy. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, anyway, so we're running the race, and I actually held a pretty steady pace the whole time. But I actually felt pretty good the whole race. My biggest fear, which I'm sure other people also have this fear, I knew I was going to have to stop and use the restroom at some point with, what do they call them? The runner trots or something?
I don't know.
Anyway, I just knew my stomach was going to give out at some point because it's just so rough on your stomach. I actually looked it up. It's a lack of blood flow to your intestines, which causes a lot of disruption of anything flowing in that area. So then you, like, have the runner trots. So I actually didn't even end up having to use the restroom. And I just continued on through. And at the beginning, I was holding like an 8-minute mile pace. And then I went down to a 7:30 mile pace. And I was ahead of the 3:30 pacer. And then by the end, I saw the 3:20 pacer in front of me. And I was like, let's get it. And I passed her like 10 feet before the finish line. And, like, it was such a good feeling. But I was in the absolute, I told Jake, I was in the hurt locker from mile 16 to 23. And mile 23 to 26, I was in absolute hell. Like, because it was uphill too at the very end. The last couple of miles was uphill. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is something. So I ended up getting a really, like, better time than I even wanted. I wanted to get a sub like 3:30 marathon so that I could like have a chance to run the Boston Marathon. And I ended up running a 3:17 marathon, which is way better than I even thought like I could. So like that was so empowering for me to be able to do that. And something cool about this, I've never run a marathon race before. I've only run 2 previous marathons in training. And the first marathon I ever ran was in September of 2023. I just was like, I want to go run a marathon, and I'm going to try to get a 3:30 marathon running on a track. No previous like training, maybe like, you know, a few miles throughout the week, just regular running. But I went to a track and absolutely got obliterated. Like, I literally collapsed in lane 1 at mile 15, called Jake and was like, I cannot do this. Like, I'm tossing my cookies right now. Like, so, and then I ended up walking the last 11.2 miles of that training on the track. Like, everything hurt in me. And so I was actually a little discouraged. Like, after that, I was happy I did it, but I was like, dang, that, like, just like Jake said, chewed me up and spit me out. Like, that was really humbling. And so then I kind of like let it go. I was like, yeah, yay, I ran a marathon. I've always wanted to run a marathon. And then Jake brought up the idea of training for an ultra in November. And then that's when we started kind of distance running again. And so when this marathon came up, like in the middle of our training, I was like, man, this is it. Like, I really, really want to try and prove to myself that I can do this, that like I can do hard things, and I'm going to prove to myself and show myself enough respect that I'm going to qualify for the Boston Marathon. I'm going to go freaking run it. Like, I'm going to put that on my life resume. And I did it. And I'm like so proud of myself. Like, yes, I wheeze when I run, and it's really annoying. I was probably so freaking loud running.
There was one of our friend we were running with. The first half you run down, then the half splits off, goes to the finish line. So the second half of the course is the out and back that she's been talking about. And one of our friends said when she passed Tennessee, our friend, she had headphones in and was still able to hear Tennessee wheezing and huffing and puffing from the other side of the road. That's how bad her lungs are.
It's quite embarrassing, actually. Like, runners, when I'm running behind them, they know. Like, they literally don't even look back. They scoot over for me, like, legit. And, like, they look at me like, are you okay? And I'm like, trust me, it's fine. Like, I just have this, like, asthma problem that I'm still working on. I ended up just not packing my inhaler, which I should have. But anyway, it worked out fine. I was absolutely wheezing by the end, but I'm just so proud of myself for finishing that. But pro tip, if you have like exercise-induced asthma or whatever, just blast your headphones to like an unhealthy amount till you can't hear your lungs anymore, like yourself breathing, and usually that helps. That's what I had to do the whole time. Like, if I hear myself wheezing, it freaks me out. Like, it kind of scares me. So I literally was blasting. Like, I don't care what I'm blasting. As long as I cannot hear myself breathing, I'm fine. But, like, moral of the whole story, I'm just proud of myself for coming from September, collapsing mile 15, being like, this is never possible, and then kind of getting myself back up and training. And, like, I'm so excited to see what I can accomplish in the future.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, too. You absolutely crushed it out there. Yeah, and, like, we weren't even training for, like, speed marathon. We were just trying to just get endurance, like, 50 miles in. And so, like, yeah, I'm proud of you. You crushed it.
Thank you so much, Jake. That was really sweet. I'm very proud of you, too. I'm proud of both of us. It was something fun to do together and build our relationship. It's something about like going through something really, really hard together, training for it, actually doing it. Like, it really does grow your relationship with anybody, spouse. Like, if you're going through nursing school, your nursing cohort, that's hard. Those are going to be your best friends forever. So anything hard grows relationships, which is unfortunate sometimes because no one likes going through anything hard, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it. And it, like, something else I wanted to touch on too was like expectations. For me, I have to be very careful with how I set my goals. Like, I talked about this in one of my previous podcasts when I was interviewing both Brecken Mozingo and Christopher Blevins, a mountain bike Olympian. about goals. There's such a balance between being in the present moment and also having a goal, because goals can be so capping and have a ceiling on your effect if you're not careful. If all you're focused on is this goal instead of being in the present moment and what your body's feeling at the moment, you're not going to reach your full potential. And that's something I learned about this marathon. I had a goal. I wanted to get a 3:30 marathon, but ultimately I told myself I need to be in the present moment. Like, what is this mile going to do for me? Like, seriously, every single mile I had a plan. Like, okay, this mile I'm going to breathe. This mile's a gel. How's my body feeling? This mile is a Gatorade. This mile's a gel. Like, this mile I'm going to catch this pacer. Like, each aid station had a goal. Each mile had a goal. Like, I broke it down and I just did not focus on how many miles I had left. But ultimately, by doing that, I was able to exceed my goal. If the whole time I was staring at my watch being like, oh my gosh, I'm 5 seconds from a 3:30. I cannot stop at all. Like, that will freak me out personally, and I will do way worse. So if you just focus on your body, what does your body need at this time? And this can apply to anything, emotionally, physically. Focus on the present moment and have an end goal in mind, but you also have to focus on the moment. How do you feel like this goes for you, Jake?
Yeah, I think like the goal part is big for me, but then now that like
it's different for everybody.
Yeah, and hearing you talk about it too, I think living in the present moment makes a big part of it too. Because if I was goal focused, like my goal was, like I said at the beginning, like sub 4, and I was hanging with the sub 4 for like 2 miles, and I'm like, we are putting, like I can pick it up. And so then, like, I was really listening to my body. And like you said, like, by not focusing on the goal, I was able to achieve so much more than my goal. I do think the goal is important to have, though, because if I didn't have that goal, I would have kept walking at mile, like, 21. When I walked, like, half or 3/4 of a mile. If I didn't have the goal, I would have kept walking. And so that goal got me to push up and got me to keep going again. But then focusing on the moment, I was able to listen to my body and go and get faster than I would. If I didn't have to walk, if my knees didn't explode, like I said, I think I could have got a lot faster than I did, because I had so much like juice left in the tank that I wasn't able to spend just because like my knees, hip flexors, and foot were limiting me. But
that's part of the race though too.
Yeah.
It's like every aspect. There's so many aspects to running that people think it's just your legs. When I'm like,
Yeah.
For me, my hindering is my stomach and my lungs. For Jake, it's his knees and his ankles and his foot. So it's like, there's like, racing is so much more than just your legs. It's like every aspect.
But yeah, I agree. I think goals are extremely important, but I also think that there's a fine balance between listening to your body and staying in the present moment.
I agree. I think that just staying in the present moment is truly key, but also having a goal in mind and just finding the balance. And I believe that everyone's probably different. Some people need that goal up in front to push them. But for me, it almost overwhelms me, and I just have to break it down into like baby steps. What am I feeling at this moment? How do I make the most out of this very moment? One last thing I wanted to touch on was, how cool is it that many people got together? That many people wanted to improve themselves. That many people wanted to push themselves. We were all in it together. Like, that's so cool. Like, I've never experienced a race, like an official race. I've always just run on my own. But it was honestly, like, so awesome to see that many people wanting to improve themselves and wanting to get better and wake up at 4 at the crack of dawn and wait in the freezing cold so that we could all run our own race. Like, that is so cool. And then to see the community involvement, like, it makes me think of like, how many other ways can we involve each other and empower each other to do better and to push ourselves to be better. Like, people made signs like, you've got this, or like funny signs that honestly made me laugh. But
My favorite was the like Mario. It had the little like the mushroom guy. It said tap for power up, and so he'd just slap it every time we ran past.
I definitely slapped that every time. And there was one time, it was like towards the end that I was like, I'm so tired, but I like air slapped it. Like I really want to tap that, but I just don't have the energy to run over there right now. But that was a fun sign. But overall, it's just such a cool experience, so uplifting, so many like lessons that I want to apply to my life of running this marathon and community involvement and setting your own goals and your own races and listening to your body and pushing yourself through what you thought you couldn't do. Like, Jake, TBH, I don't think I could have done that. Like, I say that right now and I probably could push myself through because I am building like my stamina and, you know, I'm building that mental toughness, but that's hard. So I'm really proud of you. But Jake is also going to the doctors tomorrow and probably going to be put in a cast. So let's pray for Jake. But overall, like, it was just such a great experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the biggest thing for me, the amount of people there, the community was insane. It was awesome. Like we said, like Wilmington showed up. It was great. But for me, I was so impressed at when your mind decides that it's not going to quit, how much you're able to do. Like, I hate running. I've always hated running. And now I just ran a marathon and I busted up my legs and it's finished. Because my brain knew, like, I'm not going to stop. Like, I will not stop until I hit mile 26.2. Yeah, I might walk a little, but I will not stop moving until I finish this race. So once your brain decides that it will not give up, it will adapt and you can do some incredible things. Like, we're all capable of so much more than we think we are. Because I think a lot of times we sell ourselves short and we stop when things get hard. But when things get hard, that's not the ending. Like, that's just right when it's getting started. And so that was a big takeaway that I had. Another one, too, was it was just interesting, like, when you just caught up to the pacer, like, one of them, like, oh, I'm at the, because like I said, I started with the 4 hours. I'm like, I'm feeling really good. Caught up to the 350. And when I was with the 350s, I was like, okay, I caught up to him. Let's slow down a little. I'm like, wait a second. Like, I can't slow down. Like, time keeps going no matter what. It's like in life, like, even if you hit your goal, you can't stop. Like, time's going to just keep on going. You just got to keep going and hitting your next goal. And even if you have a setback, time's not going to stop for you. Life's not going to stop for you. You always have to keep pushing and moving forward and just finishing out whatever you're doing.
And you continue to get better, and that pace will eventually get easy for you when you practice more. So it may be hard in the moment, but then once you continue and kind of settle in, you're like, okay, time to move up, you know?
Yeah, because when I got there, I had to have been running faster than them in order to catch them. And then once I catch them, my pace was able to slow down a little bit, and I matched theirs. And so then, after a while, I like settled in and was comfortable. I'm like, all right, I'm good now. Let's go grab the next one. Let's go catch the 340. But then I had some knee problems. but that was playing in my head. I was going to, but
the knees exploded at that point. So, well, we had so much fun training for this ultra that we wanted to do this spring or summer.
The training was definitely more enjoyable than the marathon.
We did enjoy the training. We got up so early together before work and school every day. It was so fun to do that together. But we have to announce that we will be putting that on the back burner for right now. We definitely want to do one at some point. But with Jake's foot, we're putting that on the back burner. But we will do it at some point. We just need to heal ourselves. I think we went Hamburglers at the marathon, but it was so much fun. I'm so glad we did it. But overall, such a great experience. Highly recommend training, pushing your mind to the limits. It helps in every aspect of your life. Like, makes you happy, gets you having a goal, gets you motivated. So many great things. And I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. We had so much fun making it. Obviously, lots of laughs. And we'll see you next week.
See you, everyone.